Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Patterns by D. My name is Dee and today's tutorial is on the Edgy Enisha Jumpsuit. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell for upcoming videos and tutorials. So with further ado, let's get started. Okay, now this pattern was inspired by inspiration pic I saw on Pinterest, but I took two different looks and put them together to make this jumpsuit. This is a sporty type of jumpsuit, and it depends on the fabric that you choose, that you can use it to make an elegant jumpsuit or just a casual jumpsuit where you can like wear it around the house or out and about. The fabric that you can use for this jumpsuit, you can use a lightweight denim, a medium to heavyweight denim, a stretch denim, a linen, a poplin, a Pant, what else? A lot of different fabrics. The details of this jumpsuit that I love are the sleeves. The sleeves are wide, like a balloon type of sleeve. The waist is cinched in with some pleating I put on the bust of the top with a front zipper, front pockets, back pockets, and a little bit of a wide leg, like a flare leg, depending on, I mean, it's your preference if you want to make it keep it a straight leg, or you can also add elastic at the hem of the pants. And that's what I did with this picture right here that I wore at Baltimore Frocktails. This pattern only has 8 pieces, but what I did for the front, the back, bodice, and the sleeve, I put them all together to make one piece. And you will have to lay the piece on the fold of the fabric. Everything is described in the instruction booklet, so you won't get confused or lost. Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to open your fabric up so you can lay pattern piece number 1 on the fold. Now, if the sleeve is too wide for you, if you cut out, for example, a size 8, you can go on both sides of the sleeve and cut out to a size 4. Now, these are all 8 pattern pieces. Pattern piece number 1 is the front and back bodice and also the sleeve. You will have to cut out 1 piece of fabric on the fold. Pattern piece number 2, which is the lower front bodice, you will have to cut out 4 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 3 is the collar. You have to cut out 2 pieces of fabric on the fold and cut out 1 interfacing on the fold. Pattern piece number 4, which is the front pocket facing, you have to cut out 2 pieces of fabric and also serge or zigzag stitch the edges of the pocket facing. Pattern piece number 5 is the front pants. You have to cut out 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 6, which is the back of the pants, you have to cut out also 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 7, which is the back pocket, you have to cut out 2 pieces of fabric, and this is for all the sizes. Now you also have to lay pattern piece number 7 on top of the back pants at those dot markings. Pattern piece number 8, which is the wristband, you have to cut out 2 pieces of fabric on the fold. Okay, now that all your 8 pattern pieces are cut out, let's start putting it all together. Okay, now we're going to attach and pin the pleats under the bust edge of the front bodice. And there are 3 pleats that you're going to have to attach, matching the notches with right sides of the fabric facing. And then you're going to pin, and then you're going to press the pleat towards the side seam, and then edge stitch the edge 1/8 of an inch. Now to attach your back darts, you're going to, at the waist edge of the bodice, match your notches at the bottom of the dart with right sides of the fabric together, and then you're going to pin. And then you're also going to put a pin at the top of the dart and the middle of the dart. And you're going to stitch from the top of the dart to the waist edge of the dart, and then you're going to press it, the dart, towards the side seam. And then you're going to edge stitch the bottom of the dart 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Okay, now that you have finished attaching the back darts of the bodice, now we're going to work on attaching pattern piece number 2 to the underbust pleat edge of your front bodice. Okay, now we're going to work with pattern piece number 2, which is the lower front bodice, and you should have cut out 4 pieces of fabric, 2 pieces for each side of the bodice. Now you're going to sandwich each piece together between the pleats, matching the notches with right sides of the fabric together. And then you're going to pin, and you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, after you have trimmed the lower front bodice and also pressed the wrong sides together, you're going to edge stitch the waist edge and also the side seam. Okay, now we're going to work on the gathering stitches on the side of the sleeve. Now, if you don't like the width of the sleeve, you can always increase or decrease at the sides of the sleeve by going a size smaller or a size larger. Now you're going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches between the 2 notches on each side of the sleeve. Okay, before you start pulling the gathering stitches, you're going to fold your fabric at the sleeve with the right sides together, and then you're going to pin the side seams, and you're going to also pin the sleeve at the wrist, close to the wrist. Don't pin inside of where the gathering stitches are. You're going to start pulling your threads to start gathering the fabric in between the notches. Okay, now before we attach the collar to the neck edge, you're going to have to do a stay stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. Okay, now that we have added the collar to around the edge of the neck of the front and back bodice, before we close up the collar, we're going to have to add our zipper first. Then we'll close up the collar. So we'll get back to that. Now we're going to add the wristband around the edge of the sleeve. So you're going to take pattern piece number 8, which you should have cut out 2 pieces of fabric on the fold. And you're going to take your fabric with right side spacing and pin the seam of the wristband, and you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch across. and then you're going to press, and then we're going to come back and attach it to our wrist of our sleeve. Okay, now you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch on the edge of the width of your wristband.
With right sides of the fabric together on the wristband and the sleeve, you're going to pin matching the underarm seam and the notches. Stitch 5/8 of an inch seam allowance attaching the wristband to the sleeve.
Now I'm going to top stitch my seam allowance around the wristband so I can keep the serge edge down. Now you, instead of using your serger, you can use a zigzag stitch as well on your sewing machine. Okay, now that we have finished adding the wristband and also serging the inside and top stitching the edge of the serge edge down, now we're going to put this aside and work on the pants. Okay, now we're going to work with pattern piece number 4 and pattern piece number 5. Pattern piece number 4 is the front pocket facing, and make sure that you have serged your edge on the both sides of your pocket facing and the bottom on both pieces. Let's put that aside for right now and work with pattern piece number 5, which is the front of the pants. Now I'm only going to take one piece at this time so I can show you how to add your pocket facing. Okay, now after you have added your stabilizer around the opening of your pocket, I serged the edge of my pocket over the interfacing, the stabilizer. So now you're just going to fold down 1/4 of an inch at the notch that you've made on the side seams of the pants. So you're going to fold that down, and then you're going to press it. Okay, so now let's attach our pocket facing. This is what it looks like. I did it on the other side of the pants, so this is what it's going to look like on the wrong side, and this is what it looks like on the right side. Okay, So, okay, now with your front of your pockets and your pocket facing, you're going to, with the notched edge of your pocket facing, you're going to place the front of the pants at those notches, and you're going to pin the notches on the top of the pocket facing and the top waist of the pants. You're going to also pin the pocket down, the pocket facing down. And you're going to do a edge stitch on the very top of the waist of the pant, and also down the sides of the pocket and the bottom of the pocket facing. Come back and we'll continue. 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Okay, after you edge stitch your pocket facing down, now we're going to stitch down our pocket facing to our pants. Let's also edge stitch the top of the pocket facing 1/4 of an inch from the edge. We're going to do a stay stitch. Okay, 1/4 of an inch from the top edge of the pocket facing and the top of the pants.
To attach your pocket facing, you could stay stitch on the sides and the bottom of the pocket.
All right, now you're gonna pivot and go across the bottom of the pocket facing. Okay. Okay, now that we have attached the pocket facing to the front of the pants on both sides, and also make sure
now that dot on the center front of your pants, you're going to have to enforce with an L stitch at the seam allowance. That is for your zipper stop.
So with both of these front facings of the pockets attached, let's start attaching the back pockets on the back part of the pants. So you're going to take pattern piece number 7, which is the back of the pocket, and pattern piece number 6, which is the back of the pants. Make sure you make all your markings like you have on the pattern piece on top of your fabric. And make your markings for the inside, the wrong side of the fabric. Don't put the dot on the outside of the fabric. Do the inside, because I'm going to show you what you're going to have to do placing your pocket. All right, so you're going to take at that top notch, you're going to fold down 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and you're going to press. You're going to press this down. Okay, now that you press down 1/4 of an inch on the top edge of the pocket, now with wrong sides facing. Now face the right side and fold down at that second notch. And you're gonna pin on each side. And then you're gonna stitch 5/8 of an inch from the top down to the bottom hem of your pocket. Okay, you're gonna stitch 5/8 of an inch on the edge of the pocket. Okay, now that you stitch down the top fold of the pocket, 5/8 of an inch from the edge, you're going to trim some of the seam allowance off. All right. Then you're going to flip the top. Just like that, and you're going to press 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around at those dots that you made earlier. You're going to press, and then you're going to press the bottom at that dot as well. And I'll show you what it looks like after you get finished pressing it. Okay, now that I've pressed the pocket side seams flat, now the top hem is secured with a edge stitch on the front of the pocket. So now you're going to stitch the top of the pocket down using an edge stitch 1/8 of an inch from the end of the fold. Back stitch. Alright, so that's what it should look like on the very top of the pocket. On the top. And what I like to do, instead of folding it like this, you know, the bottom upwards, and you'll have some like excess fabric overlapping the sides, I always open it up like this, and at that dot I fold the corner in, and then I fold the sides and the bottom together. To make that point very defined on the side and the bottom of the wrong side of the pocket. So let me put a pin there. So it will look nice, crisp, and neat once you lay it on the back of your pants and you tack it down at those dots that you made earlier. And that's what it would look like. Now, you're more than welcome to leave it just like this, but for some reason I like to add that triangle at the edge. Okay, now that you have pressed your pocket seam allowance down, you're going to flip it on the right sides of the fabric, matching these 4 dots that you should have placed here from your pattern piece. And you're going to place your pocket at those dots. And now you're going to edge stitch and attach your pocket to the back of your pants using 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the pocket to stitch it down from side bottom to the other side. And do that for both pieces. Come back and we'll continue. Now we're attaching our pocket to the back of our pants, attaching the back pocket to the back of the pants, and we're going to edge stitch the pocket down using 1/8 of an inch. Back stitch, back stitch at the very end, and you have your pocket. So pretty. Okay, now that we have attached our back pockets to the back of our pants, now we're going to attach the side seam of the pants. Now if you're going to use a side trim like I showed you earlier, you're just going to take the front of your pant and attach it to the side of your pant and match it up at the side seam with the notches matching. Now, after you pin from the top to the bottom hem of the side seam of the pants, you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then you can zigzag stitch or serge your seams or iron them flat, whatever you prefer. Stitch 5/8 of an inch from the edge side seam of the pants, the front and back. Back stitch. All right, now you're going to serge your side seam of your pants down, or you can do a flat felt seam, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, after you finished attaching your front and your back pant legs together at the side seams, now if you want to add some trim, like some stretch knit, some rib knit trim, I purchased this from lwstrims.com, and I was going to do this, use this on my Bang & Bomber pattern coming up very soon. But I just wanted to demonstrate how you would add trim to the sides, and you would start at the top and work your way down at the bottom. Secure my trim to my side seam, or I use trim tape, which this is like hem tape. It's adhesive, and it it stays with when you press it down with your iron. You'll put it down at the side seam, and then you'll put the trim over top, and then you'll press it, and you'll go all the way down to the hem of the pants with the trim. And then you would do an edge stitch on the trim to keep it secure. The hem tape is just to hold your trim in place on the side seam instead of you using pins. Or that's the demonstration for the trim. I'm not going to use this, no trim on these pants. So now that you got finished using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance to attach your front and your back of your pants at the side seam, you're going to take the other part of your pants and you're going to place it right sides together with your back. We're going to start off with the center back. So with the center back, you're going to match your 3 notches, and you're going to pin at the notch and pin at the center back top and pin at the crotch. And you're going to stitch the center back together using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then at that dot placement marking that you placed for the end of your zipper, you're going to match that dot with the other side of the pants. And you're going to stitch from the end zipper dot to the crotch using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now that you have stitched down your center back at the crotch and your center front from the zipper stop down to the crotch, now we're going to attach our center crotch area matching the seams. And you're going to pin and then matching the notches on both legs. Before you add your elastic, you're going to have to leave an opening to insert the elastic at the bottom hem of your pants. So from the bottom edge, you're going to stitch up 1/4 of an inch. And you're going to stitch a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance from the edge, the bottom edge hem of the pants up to 1/4 of an inch, and then you're going to stop. Then you're going to leave an opening for an inch wide elastic so you can insert it at the hem of your pants. So now at that notch, you're going to insert your needle again, and you're going to stitch up using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way up to on the other side of your pants leg. I hope you enjoyed putting this pattern together with me, and stay tuned for my upcoming pattern, the Bangin' Bomber. That will be, I think, released after this jumpsuit. So take care, guys, and thank you for watching.